little something different. This is a review for the brand new horror film by A24 and the Rucka Racka brothers, I guess, Danny and Michael Filippo, who made the great horror film Talk to Us. Came back with a new horror movie called Bring Her Back. So what is Bring Her Back about? Now, I feel like a movie like this, you need to go into it knowing as little as possible for the full shock value. So this is a non-spoiler review. But basically, this film has to do where Talk to Us was a ghost film. This is more in the realm of possession. And that's as far as I want to go. This is a non-spoiler review. I'm just going to be giving you my general thoughts. And it's going to be hard for me to talk about this movie because I feel like how much people like this movie is going to depend upon what you feel about the ending. So if you guys are curious in this review, let me know in the comments, and I'll do a full spoiler break to it. But Bring Her Back was written by Danny Filippo, and it was directed by Danny and Mike. The other writer was Bill Hazen. It stars Billy Barrett, Sora Wong, and Sally Hawkins. And it is about these two kids under tragic circumstances are thrusted into the foster care system. This seemingly really nice lady adopts them, but there is a dark secret. There's a dark little mystery going on. And slowly as it unfolds through this film, some fucked up shit starts happening, and thus you have this movie. So let me start out with that. Sora Wong, I believe, who's in this film, she is she plays this character, Piper. She is visually impaired, and I don't do a lot of things as far as my review to go with representation or whatever else. I think if you can act and you're good for the role, then you should get the role, okay? But I do want to say this actress, Sora Wong, is actually legitimately vision impaired, and it plays into the story of this movie. And I think it makes for a very compelling sort of movie because the decisions being made by this character are not because they don't use the disability she has as a way to market this movie. It's sort of like a real life scenario. Like what is actually wrong with her plays into a lot of the horror in this movie. So what is this movie about? This movie is like the other movie, Talk to Me. This movie deals with themes that on the surface, this looks like one kind of horror movie, but it's really about more than just what's on the surface. So Talk to Me was an allegory for like drug addiction and teenagers dealing with grief and things like that. This movie is about loss and how far you are willing to go to bring back the person you love. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give the movie away. You really need to watch this with as little context as possible. But I will say that that Rucka Racka continues to make really thought-provoking horror movies that are outside of the Hollywood medium, which is something I've always appreciated about these film directors and their styles of making movies. Now, the end of this movie is going to be the biggest thing talked about on the internet. And if you guys want me to do a spoiler, I will. Let me know in the comments. But I will say a lot of how people feel about this movie is going to be how closely you paid attention to the movie and what you feel about the ending. Because the ending is very much a kind of what the fuck moment. And I'm not saying that's in a bad way. I'm saying you're going to watch this. You're going to get to a certain aspect where you're like, wow, shit's going down because this is a very slow burn movie. And then you're going to get to a point where a lot of things are happening, and don't get me wrong, things happen, but you're going to get to a point where a lot of things are happening, and then it just kind of ends. And I'm trying not to give any of the movie away, but it feels like you get a complete satisfaction ending, like there's a beginning, middle, and end. But there is kind of a thing where you're like, so what was this all about? And I think the clever part about this movie is the movie does explain to you everything that is happening, but there's a lot of shocking things that happen in this movie that kind of divert your attention, and you get to kind of sidetracked from what the plot and the overall story of this movie is, until, I think this is a movie where I'm going to have to go back through and watch it. It's very hard to rate this movie off of my initial thoughts, because this is very much a movie that begs you to watch it again, knowing where it goes. And holy shit. So this movie is very secluded to a very small cast. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 9 people. It's in one location primarily. But what they do, and this is a real testament to the filmmakers, but what they do with this one location and what they do in general with building out the lore for this movie is very much nothing short, but very artistic. This movie is hard for me to talk about because there's so many layers to this film. I really enjoyed it. I want to talk about Sally Hawkes. Sally Hawkes is the main person in this film. She gives an excellent performance. She plays the character Laura, who she in this movie has to come across as this very likable but kind of quirky caretaker. She takes these 2 kids who have had a traumatic thing happen, and Sally Hawkes' character has to give you just enough to kind of feel weird about what's going on, but also disarm you to make you think that maybe it's just you, maybe you're reading into it, you're in this movie and you know that some crazy shit is going on, but she has to keep that disarming feel in this movie, and I think the actress does a very good job. One thing about these brothers is their casting is amazing. I'll tell you right now, there is not one bad actor in this film. There's not one bad performance. Nothing feels like forced or hokey. The supernatural side of this is very interesting, but just to give you guys a heads up, that's not like, there's some crazy fucking gory scenes in this that come out of nowhere and take you by surprise, but that's not the focus of this movie. This movie is heavily dealing with grief. Hello, how are you doing? Good to see you. This movie deals very much with grief, and it deals with what are you willing to do to bring back the person you love. And I think this movie hit me a little bit harder because of that core concept. Like the questions this movie is posing and like seeing how it all plays out. Would I go that far? I have no clue. But it's definitely one of those films that really makes you think, and at the same time, I do feel there's certain things I did not vibe with the ending in particular. There's a sharp turn, and I don't know how I quite feel about it. But Sally Hawkes in this movie, she is fucking tremendous. I'm so glad to see horror really getting some great spotlight. She's great. Now, the other person, Sora Wong, who plays Piper, as I said in the beginning of this review, she is visually impaired. She's visually impaired in real life, too. And the acting that she has to do, especially considering she can't really see shit and still has to act surprised. And I think one thing that works for this movie is the fact that I can believe this character putting themselves into danger because they can't necessarily navigate what's going on, which really adds a layer of suspense to the movie. Yes, it just released. That's why this is a non-spoiler review. I don't want to give away anything. I would spoiler for my review. I strongly suggest people go and support this. It's by these two YouTubers. They've been doing God's work. Talk to Me was one of my favorite movies. I don't know if this is going to be my top movie in 2025, but I will tell you this will be on my top 10 list for horror this year. This movie. So let me just break down my pros, my cons. I've been kind of rambling on because I'm just getting all my thoughts together. This movie, for my pros, is amazingly shot, amazingly acted, and the fucking gore and violence in this movie is so hard hitting because the Rucka brothers don't just like kill people and they don't just make these like jump scares. Everything in this movie is very deliberately done. If there is like one or two jump scares, but it's not a jump scare where like, oh, there's someone behind you. They do a loud noise. It's not one of those. It's very quiet at certain points, and it pertains to what's going on in the scene. And it makes it far more scary when you get the reveal. Yes, it is a horror movie. It's kind of more of a thriller. It's a horror thriller. There is scary things, but I think it leans more into thriller aspect. This movie I've heard compared to like Hereditary. I wouldn't go with that because I found Hereditary very dry until the like final moments of the movie. This is very much throughout this movie, you're trying to figure out what is up with this lady. Laura, played by Sally Hawkins. You're trying to figure out why she's so nice, what's going on. You see something in the beginning, and you kind of know where the movie is going. But oh boy, where the movie ends is fucking bananas. So the cinematography is great. The lighting, the camera work, the acting is tremendous. Now, my one negative, and I think was going to be a high negative for some people, is I've got to rewatch the movie because the ending of the movie is very abrupt, and there's something that happens where I think I missed a detail in the movie to why it went down the way it did. Now, I've been going online and going to Anything's Explained to kind of try to make sure I got everything, because when you watch the movie the first time, you're so captured by everything going on and trying to figure out what the end game is that I think you get really swept up. And when you get to the ending, there's a lot of things in here not answered. There's a lot of things in this movie that really forces the audience to kind of piece together everything that's going on. And I would say that's both a positive and a negative. I like movies that don't tell me everything, but at the same time, I do like some things explained. And this movie leaves a lot up to the audience really to figure out. And it's not saying that they did it because they didn't have an idea or it was lazy. I think it's more of too much trust in the audience because the ending is very confusing to me. But I am still going to rewatch it. So I feel like it is a good movie because I rate movies also on whether or not I'm going to rewatch them. And this is the kind of movie you can't really judge off of your first viewing. You really have to watch it a couple of times to really get the sense. Like, I feel like when I watch this a second or even third time, I'm going to pick up on things I missed the first two times of, because I was so swept up in trying to figure out what's going on. Now that I know where this movie ends, I can try to pick up the puzzle pieces and the clues and maybe put together more of the story. And I think that's the strength of these directors. And they were on an interview talking about how Hollywood would never make this kind of movie. They brought it to bigger studios, and the execs were like, you got to do this, you got to do that. So they said, fuck it. And they brought it to A24, and A24, as you guys know, they're like, yeah, do your thing, which is why I respect A24 and I'll go see all of their movies, because they let the directors give us a story. And whether you like it or not, that's up to you. But I think it really helps keep creativity in our media, because right now we're in an era where we're seeing tons of shit that's recycled and garbage, honestly. Like all these movies that are scared to take chances, these shows that treat people stupid. And at the end of the day, I like a movie that challenges me and forces me to put the puzzle together. Um, yeah, I think that is really good. Sounds good. How bad are the borough the borough parts? You gotta elaborate a little bit. But unless that's horror parts. But yeah, I would say this is a very good movie. Now, just a word of warning: if you're not a fan of horror, if you're a little squeamish or something like this may not be the movie for you. Uh, there is some fucked up shit. I don't know what it is about this year, but man, directors do not give a fuck about kids. I don't want to spoil things, but I will tell you right now, there's some fucked up shit in this. There is some fucked up shit. And the thing about this movie is it starts off slow. So when these things happen, you're kind of just like, whoa, there's a scene in here, and you'll know the scene when you see it. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a scene in here that kind of comes out of left field, and I'm like, what the fuck? It could, because it's just like, bam, this thing happens, and it's just like, holy shit, okay. And so I would say the beginning of this movie starts off slow. This is not going to be like an Exorcist or something where you're going to go in and there's going to be all this fucked up shit happening. This is not that kind of movie, but it is very interesting. And I think it's a very unique take on the possession kind of horror that we have. This movie very much stands out with the choices that they make. Now, my negatives, and mainly is the ending. Now, my rating could go up based upon if I rewatch the movie and I see what people have said this is supposed to represent. But for me, there's certain decisions at the end of this film that are just confusing. And it's very abrupt ending. I'm going to tell you right now, the end of this movie is like thrilling, but then it just kind of ends. And I'm like, it kind of left me like, what just happened? And maybe that's the intention of the filmmakers, or maybe there's something in there I'm missing, which is why I'm saying I got to see this another time. But I will say this is one of those movies I think you have to see, and I think you should see it in the theater. It's definitely good. I don't want to watch horror other than, other than Evil Dead. Love Ashy Slashy. But I will say this much: if you are into possession genre, if you're into good filmmaking, if you like Talk to Me, this is definitely a good follow-up. Now, whether or not it's better than Talk to Me, I would really like. Talk to Me was one of my top 5 horror films of the year that it came out. I don't know if it's on that level. I'd really have to mull it over. But these guys made a phenomenal first movie, and I think it's really a good follow-up. I hate movies with a lot of questions. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you this much. It answers some things and it leaves some things hanging for people to answer. So I don't know if that helps you out, but I will say my suggestion would be watch Talk to Me. If you like that, I think you'll like this film. Anybody who kind of liked that style, I think that you're going to like this movie. I think it's a great follow-up, and I am going to be following these guys, whatever projects they do. If you guys don't know, one of my favorite directors is Jordan Peele, and I've been following his whole career. I love all of his stuff, and I think that we're in this age of horror where we got so many great directors with so many unique ideas, and they're taking these genres and different things, and They're really creative. And this is one of those movies that I really loved. Like for me right now, my number one movie is Sinners, but this would be pretty high up there because I like the high concept horror. I like having to think and stuff like that. Um, but all in all, I really like this movie, and I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. It was the first thing that I felt. I was almost at a 9 or a 10, honestly, but I'm going with 8 because of the fact of the ending, and I've got to go back through and really see where I'm at as far as I feel. But yeah, I this is a pretty high up movie for me, and I think it's really amazing because it's only their second film. So I am over-regulated material. I'd take a bad movie over a remake. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let me put it to you this way, and this is for everybody watching. If you want something different and unique, definitely go check this out. Go support this. We got the fucking Lilo and Stitches and How to Train Your Dragon remake and reboots and requels and sequels. I want to support independent artists who are trying something new. Like, even if it doesn't land, I respect the quality of filmmaking, the quality of acting, and the fact that even if you don't like the horror stuff, I think that the concept of this movie is very, very solid. And it's very heartfelt because the themes I think could resonate with anyone. Where what are you willing to do to bring back somebody that you lost? Like, how far are you willing to go? What are the things that you are willing to do? And I don't think anybody can answer that until you're put into that position. And this is one of those movies that through the horror, the director is conveying that theme of this person who lost someone, who's broke beyond belief, willing to do some heinous shit to bring back the person that they love. And I think that's a theme that can resonate with anybody, no matter who you are, no matter what genre you like. I really feel like the directing and the story is really solid. Hey, what's up there, little dictator? Good to see you. But yeah, Bring Her Back was a solid movie. I really like it. 8 out of 10. I really think this is a movie where it asks a lot of bold questions, and in a sense, I do respect them letting the audience make those choices. Like, this movie really makes you look in the mirror and ask, would you go as far as this person does to bring back the person that you love? And I think that's a really deep, compelling question to ask. And we've seen this in 1,000 different movies, but it's like I say, it's not the question that's being asked, but it's the way it's being delivered. That's what makes the movie fresh and interesting. And I think they really got a very interesting concept that makes you really think hard about it. So, good job for you, working 30 hours. All right, putting in that work. But anyways, yeah, definitely go check out Bring Her Back. I think this is another solid movie from the Rucka brothers. I am looking forward to what Danny and Michael Filippo do next. And one thing I want to also shout out is that there are YouTubers who turned into filmmakers, and I support anybody who has this platform and they wind up making it big on something they want to do. These guys have been doing short films and everything forever, and they really are good at their craft. The cinematography, the lighting, the acting is all like 10 out of 10. I think what really holds this back for me is the ending. I think I need more time to really wrap my head around it. But all in all, I really like this film. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching this. If you like the video, you know what to do. And I will be doing a review on the new Karate Kid movie, Karate Kid Legends. I haven't had a chance to go out and watch it. If you guys don't know, I have reviewed every season of Cobra Kai with a couple of friends of mine. And I might bring the band back together to do a review on Karate Kid Legends. So I am really looking forward to doing that. And thank you to all of the viewers that I have who have been watching and supporting my channel. I really appreciate you. And thank you to everybody who's been watching my reviews through. I love y'all. And as always, remember, there is only one rule here in the Phantom Zone. Kneel before General Zod.